Hey, what's up, y'all? Welcome back to episode 78 of From Bedrock to Java. Haha! That's right, we're back at it yet again with my nose right up against the front of the camera. Yep, that's right. Let me step around real quick. But yeah, we're back at it again on this world, and I'm excited to get back to working on things. So in the last episode, we went ahead and did a lot of little bits and pieces around the world, and we worked on several things from interiors of our build, such as my like real life little room, like right here, a nice living room, kitchen, dining room, to things out in my world, such as down there in the little green hut behind that palm tree. We built ourselves a little interior, which I thought was really cozy and amazing. It's very basic, of course. There's not much I can do inside this tiny little room. So we did what we could, and I'm happy with the way it turned out. But we also worked on things like over there, we added some trees, some foliage. It looks so much better than it used to. I love the way it looks, and it feels more complete. But there's things around here that are just really ugly that I do need to fix up at some point. And there's other things that we did end up fixing because they were really ugly. Like this area right over here, which was just a floating mess. So now that it's touching the ground, it feels a lot better. And because of that, I kind of want to do a little bit more stuff around this world. And today, I think the main focus will be the skydock. I think today I want to work on the skydock a little bit more and make this thing feel more complete. Because this thing has been sitting here for well over a year at this point, and I haven't touched it ever since I built it. And yeah, I'm really tired of the way it looks. It's too basic, filled with a bunch of stone. So in today's episode, we're going to go ahead and finish up the skydock. Well, not finish up exactly. We're going to make it better. We're going to design it up and make it look like something that I would be happy to show off. Because right now, we got Gargoyle's face. It's not exactly very appealing. So we're going to get this thing fixed up because I have a couple plans for these flying ships that I just really haven't got to working on. So we're going to try to build ourselves something here. I don't exactly know what I'm going to do just yet, but we'll figure it out as we go. So let's go ahead and get into today's episode. I keep hitting my face on blocks. It really hurts. I should go see a doctor because I don't think I'm okay in the head anymore. Okay, let's go ahead and get into today's episode. Okay, so as I've been sitting at my desk, I've actually been thinking about what I want to do with the skydock. And one of the things I really need to make sure I do is to consider what a normal dock has. A lot of docking areas are just mainly meant for trade because a lot of countries need to trade a bunch of goods and stuff through water and all that kind of stuff. So what's the best thing that we can do here for our skyport, or our skydock, I should say? And the first thing that we really need to think about is what we're transporting. And in this case, we're transporting some kind of good. And the goods are going to be transported up here, and we only have the singular pier for goods to actually come off of. So the first thing I think we need to actually figure out is more piers. So one thing we could do is we could have another pier that comes out of here and like stretches out to like over here somewhere. I don't really know just yet, but we need more areas that goods can be unloaded because these flying ships here need to unload the goods. So there's a lot of things we need to consider. The stuff that's actually being transported, we need to figure out how they're going to get moved because I don't think my hands would be able to pick up all the luggage and bring it over there myself. I mean, sure I can because it's Minecraft, and I can also see my copper golems, which I didn't think would be the thing, but that's fine. That means we're going to have to bring in things like cranes, which is a very important thing. On top of that, we also need to consider how these ships are going to be docked, because at least in terms of like normal docks with ships that float in the water, they float in water. They have anchors, stuff like that to really keep them from like moving away or anything like that. They like tie ropes to like metal things here. So we need to consider what flying ships do. One thing that I was thinking of is the fact that, well, a flying ship doesn't necessarily have infinite energy. And that means it can't stay in the sky forever, even if they're blessed by the cranes or herons. And that means we need some kind of like arm system that holds the ships up while they're being unloaded. And I think that'll be a pretty cool little thing. So today's episode is just all about diving into a lot of like the finer details of this world, because I think it's finally time to dive in and create some more lore. So I need to figure this stuff out. So I guess let's go ahead and get to building. All right, so I've been having some thoughts about what we're going to do for the skydock, and I just had a bunch of ideas after looking through some references on Pinterest and all that kind of stuff. I just hit my face yet again, but I just want to actually say that I have a bunch of ideas. So originally, this thing I built up here is just a singular layer, which is meant to be some kind of like dock for these ships to actually like park on and drop off their goods and stuff. But I'm realizing that just one here is not enough. And if we really wanted to expand this thing, we should have things that pop out from like here and head out into here. However, the more I think about it, the more I kind of realize that we don't need to do that all the way through. So for this specific skydock here, I think we're gonna have this be like a skydock meant for the people of the castle. This is like how people get up to, I don't know, like the king travels around. This is his specific private dock for his massive ship that will, I don't know, it will build out somewhere over there maybe, or maybe we'll have it like lined up against here. I don't know just yet, but we'll figure that out in the future when we actually get to that. However, right now, the thing I want to actually talk about is the fact that a sky dock is something that is unlike a normal like sea dock. So something about a sea dock is the fact that it is always level with the water. The only difference for a sky dock is the fact that an airship can be any height, basically, if we look at our coordinates, if we look at the sea, it is only using the X and Z coordinates. It can only travel on a flat plane. However, for a sky dock, ships can travel on all of the axes, whether it's your X, Y, or Z, which means we can take into account our heights, which means we can have these little docks right here on any level that we want, which means we can have like little dock pier things that actually pop out here. We can have another one that pops out over here. We can have more over here. We can have them around this entire area to make this area feel more alive. The more ports we have, the more ships that we can actually fill into this area, and I think that'll be the ideal situation for us. So we need to actually consider what kind of like ports and stuff we want to put in, and exactly where we're going to actually store like the goods that are being brought in. So I think this area right here is going to be the main like little warehouse type area, and whatever's in here will eventually have like, I don't know, some kind of staircase that goes even further down into like a warehouse down here where even like little ships are like kept, and when they're needed they can be sent out through, I don't know, like a little hole like right around here. I think this entire thing right here could be an amazing system for our sky dock. So I guess first things first, we need to consider where we're going to put those docks and exactly how big they're going to be, how they're going to work, and we're going to need to think about a design. And I think this is the area that I want to bring in most of the steampunk. I feel like steampunk is the main, I guess, design choice that we're going to use for flying ships. I attempted to make these things very steampunky, but you know, they're just very basic and they don't really do much in the way of steampunk. So we're going to try to like really dive into the steampunk aspect of this build. So let's go ahead and try steampunking it out. For the idea of using steampunk as my main inspiration for this build, I need to consider a block palette. And after looking through a couple of different references that I could use like for color theory, I suppose, I think the main colors I want to use are blue and orange and a little bit of brown, because I feel like those are kind of like industrial type of colors, and I think they would work really well together. So what would we use in terms of like orange and blue? Well, we got ourselves acacia, we got ourselves some warped planks. So if we look at it, blue and orange just work really nicely together because they are complementary colors, I think. I don't really remember the exact term, but you know, they're like on the, they look good together. So yeah, we're gonna use these two as like, I think the main roof colors and stuff, maybe like accents and stuff as well, but who knows. But we'll keep those two in mind. But for the actual building itself, I think we want to consider things like mushroom stem and bone blocks, because those are a very nice shade of gray, or white, I should say. They're like a shade of white, which is heading more towards gray, which I think is very nice. And I think they work really well together. For example, if we put this on top, let's just overhang it real quick. I think that looks pretty good. But for the main source of brown colors, I think we're going to use either spruce or we're going to use jungle, because both of these colors are also very nice. For example, if we use jungle or we use spruce, we can strip them and I think they look better. This right here I think is a very good block palette that we're going to actually use for the sky dock itself. Let's try to gather a lot, because the main issue is mushroom stem. I really like bone blocks, but I think mushroom stem just looks better overall. For example, I used it over there on my Lunar City builds. I think those houses look really good with mushroom stem. However, the main issue is collecting all of the mushroom stem, which means we're going to need to build ourselves a mushroom stem farm, which is something I've never built before, so I'm gonna have to look up a tutorial to actually figure out. I don't know if that'll be today's episode or not, but we'll see what happens, because today I think is mainly going to be the framework for our sky dock area, because right now what we have is very basic and I'm not too happy with the way it is as of right now. We're gonna go ahead and figure the rest of this out now that we have ourselves a nice little palette. So let's get to working. Okay, so 2 episodes ago I made a mistake that I completely forgot to actually rectify, and that is the fact that with my trident here, I said I made the best trident I could possibly get in terms of being able to throw it. And this trident right here, this is what happens. So I throw it and it comes back. Notice how long it takes. That is because I did not enchant this thing to the max. This thing is actually missing loyalty 3. So let's go ahead and just throw this thing on, because that is very important to making an actually good trident, because pow. It should come back a lot faster now. Look at that. Yeah, the issue we were having during our Guardian raid was the fact that the trident was traveling too slow, which meant I ended up using my Riptide Trident way more than this, because it was just coming back way too slow for what I actually needed. Now we have a actually good trident if we ever need to use it again. I don't know if we'll ever need it, but for right now, it's cool to have. So yeah, let's go ahead and put this thing away. All right, it's time-lapse time. Let's go ahead and start building in some outlines for our sky docks. So the main thing I wanted to do was try to figure out exactly where I wanted these different piers. And I kind of figured that since each of them has to be on different levels, let's go ahead and put a certain amount at one level and put another certain amount on another level. And then I also thought, you know what, while I'm building this port, let's build an entrance to the base itself, because we don't have one yet. And I even dug out a little hole right over here for our little entrance into the warehouse and ship storage, which is going to be really nice. I even started filling in a little bit of this area, but you know, there's a lot of work here and I don't have enough time to fill in all the stuff, so we're just going to fill in this little section here and we'll leave the rest for later. Man, this took up a huge amount of stone. So after a little bit of work, we did get ourselves a little bit of progress done on our skydock area. So I don't exactly know how we're gonna get from like down there up to here just yet, but we do have some things that, you know, that are down there that can make this area look cool. Let's go ahead and fly down. The main thing that we need for a skydock are a bunch of little areas that ships can dock into, so we can take their goods off and like transport it into like an actual warehouse type thing. So right over here we have ourselves a bunch of like little dock areas, such as this one right here, which I just fell off of because I apparently cannot walk on these kind of little beams. So let me go ahead and fly up real quick. So these things right here are just several different areas that the ships can dock. And of course, I'm going to leave some of the ones that are directly next to each other at higher levels. This makes it so that it's a little bit easier for ships to park without having to get in the way of other ships. That is one thing that I think would be beneficial to a skyport. With different heights of these kind of little port areas, it makes it so that more ships can be packed into a singular area than if everything were to be in a singular line, such as up there, where let's say if there was like another one right here, that maybe one ship could fit in, but then another ship over here, then it, you know, just keeps going. And it's raining now, of course. The idea of this entire thing was to maximize the amount of ships that could be placed in the skydock. So I just kind of focused on bringing around all of these different height levels and all that kind of stuff. And I think that means we're going to need to come up with different ways to get up to the actual warehouse itself. And I think the warehouse itself, like I said, would be somewhere in here, which means we're going to have like a tiered warehouse where there's like this top level of goods. And then underneath is another level, and we keep going where each of these goods are just kept. Over here, I also ended up digging out a little bit of a outline for a tunnel that will eventually go through here. And I don't know if I really want it to come out over here or not, but if I do, it'll be kind of cool. But this will eventually be how ships are able to exit the Undercity and come out into the overworld where they can do things. And I think we're going to actually connect this up to this path over here as a means to get into the castle itself. So maybe like the path goes up into here, and I'm not entirely sure just yet, but one of the main entrances that I actually wanted is, I believe, right here. Yes. Okay. So we can dig ourselves up into this area where we can enter this section, head through here like that, and end up in the ballroom, which is meant to be like the main point that people enter the castle through. So that works out perfectly. And I didn't know exactly how I was going to do that for the longest time, and now we have a way. Wow, this lantern's awesome. Why don't I hold these lanterns more often? Hold up. Wait. Wait, this is awesome. What happens if I fly with them? This is so cool. Woohoo! Wait, these are the... Okay, I don't even know what this is, but this is awesome. They have like... Oh, they have a little bit of... Can I shake them? Oh, this is so cool. I don't even know what mod this is, but they look awesome. All right, let's go ahead and get into the second time lapse. Let's go ahead and fill in these little outlines and let's see where we can get with it. So today, I don't really think we're going to get very far in terms of like detailing, but we're going to get some basic ideas of detailing done in today's episode. And then in a future episode, we can go ahead and take those little details that we created and then spread them around this entire area. And I think that'll be a perfect little goal. I'm excited because this entire area here has been here for so long and I've just been so uninspired to do it. But now that I'm actually getting to do it, I feel so much excitement. Alright, so movie night happened the other day, and we ended up watching ourselves some Everything Everywhere All at Once. I love that movie. It's one of my favorites just because of all the editing, the acting, it's all really beautiful. Let me stop talking about the movie. Let me go ahead and talk about what I did during the movie though. This is the skydock as we had, you know, previously built. And one of the things was that it was mainly just a bunch of outlines. So during the movie night, we ended up going ahead and finishing up all of these outlines and then trying to add a little bit of depth to them. So we now have ourselves the actual fully like thickened out docks. They have all 4 layers that they need, similar to this one right here, but they also have some like structural bearing down underneath them. So like right here, we have like this thing. I don't really know just yet what I want to make it out of. However, we have the shape done. So we got this kind of shape going, and I think it looks really cool. I'm really happy with the way that looks. The main purpose of it, in my opinion, would be that there might be like a door here for like maintenance, and workers can come down here to work on whatever is like the mechanical bits and pieces underneath this thing, like cranes, the things that hold the ships, like claws, all that kind of stuff. So like they got to be able to get underneath it to be able to work on it, because this may be a sky dock, but people can't necessarily fly or float, you know, to work on these kind of things. So by adding some kind of platform underneath them, you can, you know, work on things. This one right here I kind of didn't do because I ran out of time, and I think there was another one that I didn't end up finishing. I think it was these two. No, it's just this one. And, oh no, these two. So I'm missing 3 structural bearings, but it's fine. I can fix those up in the future. This one, I think I want to be a little bit different and have this one go all the way down to the sea floor, just because it's close enough that I don't think it'll matter too much. Or maybe this one will be similar to that one, and then this is the one that'll hit the sea floor just because it might look better. Because from the sea, if you're looking over towards the city, I think having those docks just like not covering everything would look better overall. Like this angle right here. Man, this is actually looking really cool. I'm happy with this. I'm excited for when we get the rest of the details onto this thing. So that's the thing I want to work on next. Let's go ahead and try to work on some of these details. So first things first, I want to work on this part of the sky dock, because this is the part that's been here the longest, and this will be the best place to have a concept because it's the area that I'm going to be the most. I'm going to go into my storage room from this area, and I'm going to have to pass through this every single time. Now, as you notice, there is a big problem. There's a huge amount of snow, and I don't like that. So what is one way we can fix this? Well, we can go all the way up to world height, and we can place a bunch of glass, and maybe that can work if we want to like get rid of all the snow from ever coming back down here again. That is always an option. However, that means we can also see it, so maybe that's not going to work. What about something that is an entity, like a chest? That could work, but the question is, do entities leave shadows? I feel like they do, but I'm not entirely sure. It's also really expensive if we decide to do that. Let me just go ahead and find some chests real quick. Let's say I took a stack of chests like so, and right over here, if I were to just build along here like so, does this leave any shadow? It does not. Okay. But then once you get to a certain render distance, of course, let me just fly all the way up here, it disappears, which means if I had chests all the way at world height, I would not be able to see them, but that also means that it prevents snow from ever getting down here, because the way that Minecraft works in terms of like rain and snow is that if anything is at world height, anything down below cannot be affected by like snow piles. So I could go ahead and just use chests. However, the other solution we could do that's much cheaper but a little bit harder in my opinion is string. We could use string to cover up our little area here. It also might look better in terms of the map, because the chests leave this huge brown area that I think looks terrible on the map. So let's think of something else, because this won't work. I gotta collect all these because I'm kind of poor. I need to make sure I get all of them. Now, let's say I have string, which I do have in my hand right here. We can go ahead and just place it down like so. And the difficult part is being able to see it. Boom. We can't see it no matter what, but it counts like a chest where like if we put it up in the sky, we can't really see it, but it helps to block snow from falling down to the ground. But it's also insta-break, like so. So what's sky height? Let's go ahead and figure that out. So let me go ahead and just build my way up. Okay, so I believe I figured out what world height limit is before I even get up to the top. So by placing scaffolding, I've managed to build all the way to the top, and it says that the world height limit is at 319, which is a little bit less than I thought, but it makes sense. It is close to 320, because 320 is, I guess, the highest block you can get to naturally, I suppose, without like elytra or anything like that. So let's just keep climbing a little. So we stand at 320, which makes sense. So this is the layer we're gonna actually have to place our string. So we're gonna place some string all the way across here. I don't know exactly how far I want to go, but now we got to figure out. Oh, this is gonna be a big problem. Okay, yeah, this is gonna be painful. So I'm gonna try to place a bunch of string real quick, and I'll let y'all know if this is a pain or not. I am pretty sure it's gonna be a massive pain. I'm gonna use a happy gas, and happy gas are already annoying enough to fly around and build with, but placing string is also really bad because I can barely even see it while I'm looking at it. Look, there's like 5 pixels here. Huh, that's a problem. Can I like, no, okay. Can't even use hitboxes. Okay, yeah, I'll get back to y'all. Okay, let's go ahead and get into the final time lapse of today. This is going to be the weirdest time lapse you might have ever seen. I don't even know how to explain what's going on here. So we're just placing the string, and I'm only just going to tell you all now that I found out that this doesn't work in the slightest, and you're going to hear my disappointment next. Alright, so unfortunate news, I have officially placed all of the string. And you may be thinking, well, that should have been a good thing, right? Because that should stop all the snow. Well, I cleared everything out and a slight issue has happened. It would appear that string up at sky height does not actually block snow like I thought it did. We are now left with a very big conundrum that I just spent like 3 hours placing string only for it to not work. Ew. I used up like almost 4 shulker boxes worth of string, so there's a lot of string up there. And, yeah. Does that mean that the areas that I cleared over here are also covered again? They are. Okay. That's great. So that means we're gonna have to come up with a different way of getting rid of all the snow. And one thing that I saw was that we can use lava. Lava is a pretty interesting way to do it, and I have to see if it actually works or not. So let's go ahead and grab some lava real quick and a couple stone blocks so we can test this out. Okay, so what I saw in a Reddit post was that if you were to place lava underneath the block, it should still count as some kind of like light source, or not light source. Lava apparently makes it so that way snow cannot appear around it just because of heat, which makes sense. So if like we place lava in a certain radius of it, we can like make it so that snow doesn't form. But I don't know if that's actually true or not, so we're gonna test it real quick. So I'm gonna place some lava right here. That should not be able to spread further than this, I believe. Should stop here. Yeah. Now, does that work? So it's right under here. Does this snow melt? Just to like test things out real quick, let me just put some, yeah. Let's just do that real quick. Let's see if it actually works or not. Oh yeah, this is not working in the slightest. Basically, what I understand is I don't know what I'm doing. We're gonna come up with a different way. This lava was a cool idea, but it doesn't work. And putting string up at world height would have been cool if it worked. Now we just have a huge amount of string up there for no reason. Please tell me that makes it so that phantoms can't attack me. If so, then I can keep it, but otherwise I'm gonna have to get rid of it all again. Sigh. That means we're gonna have to like slab this entire area up, or really figure out a good way to light this area up. But slabs are probably gonna be our best bet, which is really sad. It's a shame, but if it has to do, it will do. So I guess let's try to figure something else out. I'm sad. I'm really sad. I put so much work into this. I should have tested it. So what we can do instead is to get rid of these ugly looking torches, and we can just take ourselves a frog light. I believe they can melt from here. So we'll just do something like that. Place that down. Take one of these, place it on top, and I believe it should start melting it. Yep, look at that. And we can also use it to help mob-proof this entire area without it looking completely terrible, so that is a big plus. Let me save you guys some time real quick. This didn't work either. Alright, so I've been doing a little bit of work just trying to get some stuff done around this base. I wanted to get a bunch of little details done, and I think I managed to get a couple of little things that will eventually be implemented all around the skydock. So let's go ahead and start with some of the things that I've been working on. Let's start with the thing I'm right next to. So this is the last thing I just worked on, and this right here is just some kind of like shipping container. It's not completed yet because I still want to add some more details, but for right now, this is like the basic shape. This feels kind of small to me, so maybe at some point I'm going to make it a little bit bigger and make it, I don't know, look better, because right now where it's sitting, it just doesn't feel shipping container like. However, it has the basic idea that I want for a shipping container, such as the actual door. I mean, there should be at least 2, one on either side. Then there's like these little iron bars, which like represent like the reinforcement for our little door here, and just like an overall design that fits similar to a cargo crate using these little shelves. This entire area is completely snow proof, and it should be mob proof. I put some string on top of here so mobs can't spawn. Oh, come on. Phantoms. As I was saying though, this entire area is mob proof apart from phantoms because those things are hard to deal with. But this entire area right here has a bunch of slabs, which is gonna prevent snow from accumulating and mobs from spawning, so I don't need any lighting around here at all. I think this area looks awesome. This is a much needed improvement from what it used to be where it was all stone. I mean, it is still a majority stone. However, there's a lot more details with like andesite for highlights. You got some darker areas with some stone bricks, and eventually around here we're gonna have some like stone bricks and andesite, and then I'm gonna figure out what's gonna go around this area, and this area won't feel as like empty and ugly and needing of design, because right now this area right here is very empty, but details will come in due time. I just need to figure out what kind of details we need. But we also put in some guardrails, such as like these little warp slabs, which I think look really good. The color was very much necessary, otherwise this entire area felt really gray and it looked ugly. So by having that little section there, I think it adds a nice little bit of color, which this area much needed. And I think one of the things I want to bring in a little bit more of is copper, because copper is a very nice block for something that's industrial. And since we're aiming for more of a steampunk type of base, we're gonna need to bring in a lot of cogs and all that kind of stuff. So we need to figure that out as well. All right, so it's time to go ahead and get rid of the string. So I have been trying to just break it down real quick, just by like flying around and smacking things. However, I think it's time to go ahead and do something that's even smarter, if I can find it. And if it's not raining. Oh goodness, okay, it's not gonna work unless it's not raining. So like I said, instead of breaking all the string, let's go ahead and just burn it down, because I think it'd be easier just to get rid of it all rather than break it all and try to figure out where everything is, because I know for a fact I will not be able to find it because I kept on losing it. So, oh no, wait a minute. Can you not light string on fire? No. No, you cannot. It would seem that just today that I am apparently just messing up everything. I cannot light this entire thing on fire, which I thought I could do. Is that not a thing? Let me just test this out real quick, because I thought we could do that. Can't burn it at all. Wow, okay, I thought string could burn. I did not even realize that string wasn't considered a flammable block. I thought it totally was. I guess it makes sense, but I am really disappointed, because that would have been really useful if I could set this thing on fire, because I really don't want to go around and break every single piece of this. Sure, I could like build myself a flying machine, but I feel like that might be less useful. I don't know, but yeah, I guess I'll just keep digging, mining, breaking, I don't know. So as we saw in the last part, I went ahead and built up these like little rail thingies along here. And then I also put the crane. However, I've also added a couple more things. So right here, I've added some poles with some wires across them. I don't know what they're gonna do just yet, but I feel like they could be the design for how like ships can connect themselves to the port, so that way they don't like float off or something. Maybe like ships that aren't gonna like dock completely with like the arms and stuff down here at some point. They can just like hook themselves up with a rope to these little poles, and that's how they stay there. I don't really know just yet, but you know, it's an idea. The next thing I ended up working on is this area right over here. So this was a huge stone area that I really did not like. I hated the way it looked, so we retextured it completely and redesigned it with a different block. So now we're using some sandstone with some birch and some smooth sandstone, which I think looks a lot better. And then we finally went ahead and added in a bunch of, what'd you call this? Kind of like an elevator for items. This is where the goods that are from the sky dock area are brought up or brought down into warehouses where they can be like stored. And that's what these rails are for. There's going to be a couple of these rails around this world. There's one right over here, which takes things across and up into this area. There's this one right here, which I don't know which direction it's going to go, but maybe it's coming from here and it's going down. And these are the kind of things that we can just put around this world to make it feel like there's some kind of motion going on. And one thing I do want to add are some minecarts. I want to have some minecarts just like going around this area and really helping make this area have some movement, which will make this area feel very much so alive, because we can actually see some movement. So finally, let's go ahead and look at what we've done down here. Let me see, do I have a way down there? I definitely do. Okay, so let's go down this new path that I built right over here. And I definitely need to change the way it looks. It's very ugly and very unsafe, but you know, we'll make do with what we got. We have the basic outline of this entire area set up now. Oh my goodness, I need to lighten that up. But down here we have our official entrance into the castle, sort of. So we can climb up here, and by climbing up through here, we actually pass through a lot of the docks. Right over here we have a singular dock, and there's even more over here. Nice little pathway down to here and here. There's also a little entrance over here to an eventual little tunnel that will go into the mountain and be where, like, I don't know, stuff is stored, like ships or cargo. I meant cargo, not luggage. And yeah, that's where that'll be. But if you keep going up the stairs, hut 2, 3, 4, hut 2, 3, 4, hut 2, 3, 4, hut 2, 3, 4, you can either find this area over here, which is just gonna be like another, I don't know, like a loading bay or something, not sure just yet. And over here, we have that little staircase to get back up to where I was before, up on top of that dock. Or we can climb up a little further and then enter the castle through this little section right about here. We finally have a way to get into the castle without trying to go up a huge path. It looks so much better. Finally, let's go ahead and climb up this last set of stairs, which is just gonna take us up to the final set of docks. We got this little dock right here and this little dock right here. This will be another little area right here where we can store a bunch of stuff like cargo and whatnot. And I think that'll eventually go down into that area right there. So yeah, it's right on top of it, which is perfect. I guess we can also talk about the fact that we built up this little cargo bin crate, whatever this thing is called. I'm not entirely sure if I'm happy with it yet, but we have a little idea of it, and we'll see where that goes in the future. So anyways, thank you all for watching today's episode. Hopefully you all enjoyed it. It was, I didn't really do much, all things considered, but I'm happy with the work we've done. So, thank you all for watching, And of course, have a good one, y'all. Goodbye. Haha.